Greetings, this is Tony Wicks coming to you with episode number 7 in the Work From Home series. I really believe that this may be the final video of this series, and then more than likely I'll move on to another topic, but we'll see where this goes. I wanted to really focus on the cash flow quadrant. Now, for those of you that have not read any of his books, there's a gentleman by the name of Robert Kiyosaki. Who wrote a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and this cash flow quadrant is birthed from that book. There was a separate book done on cash flow quadrant, and then I believe this graphic references another book he wrote called Business in the 21st Century, and also it's still been incorporated, but it's a very powerful teaching tool because it outlines the 4 ways you can legally earn income in the United States. Of course, there's other ways, but we're focused on these because these are the 4 legal ways. So let's get right into it. So the first way is as an employee. And so you see the language here. It says that I'm looking for a safe, secure job, good pay, excellent benefits. When you talk about safe and secure, good job, good pay, excellent benefits, those are things that an employee is looking and may have at the top of his or her list, because all of those are oriented and geared towards, and they are steeped in security. Security, I can pay my bills, keep a roof over my family's head, make sure that I have some semblance of stability. So those are the things I'm looking for as an employee. Now, there's another way. Second way in that quadrant is the S, and the S stands for self-employed. This is a person that owns their job, and their philosophy is if you want something done right, do it yourself. I've met contractors, I've talked with them, and one of the things that I've heard them say is this: I work 60 to 80 hours a week so that I can avoid working 40 hours a week for someone else. See, if they have to work double the hours, triple the hours, it doesn't matter, because in their minds, I don't have that thumb on me, so it's worth it for my freedom. And there is, I'll say there's a benefit to that, in the fact that if a self-employed person, because they own their job, if they want to make more money, they just put in more hours. Whether you're a dentist or a hairstylist or a contractor, plumber, anything within the self-employed arena, you put in more time, you will make more money. As an employee, your additional time may be contingent upon the employer granting overtime, or if there's mandatory overtime, or you may get a second job when you're in the employee arena. So there's benefits to both, but there's a common denominator in both as well, and this is what it is. If you're an employee or a self-employed person, the challenge with either of those is this: your income is totally contingent upon you being there to trade your time, your energy for money. That concept is noble and it's admirable. The challenge is when you apply that concept long term, it becomes more and more counterproductive because of one simple thing. As we mature and as we get older, our bodies become less and less receptive to getting up out of bed, going to work, fighting traffic, clocking in, and dealing with that environment on a day-to-day basis. And so that is a challenge, because eventually you come to a point where you no longer want to be there, or your boss no longer wants you to be there because they can hire one person or maybe 2 people for equal to the amount that they're paying you, or able to hire somebody for less than you're willing to take, and they're willing to work as hard, if not harder, because they're younger and have more energy. And so that's long term is where we see the drop off in terms of the benefits for the employee and the self-employed. The immediate reward, comfort, security is there, but you wind up paying the price on the back end. Now, on the other side of the quadrant, the business owner and the investor, they pay the price up front so that they can have enjoyment later. They delay the rewards because they want to pay a special price that more people maybe are not willing to pay that are employees. And it has less to do with them being better than or special, but it has more to do with the programming that we receive as children. We're brought up, at least I was, in the mantra of you go to school, you get a good education, get a degree, get a career, buy a home, get a job with good benefits, save for retirement, and you live happily ever after. And that was a great philosophy, probably from, the post-Depression era up until about maybe 20 or 30 years ago. When you worked at a company for 40 years and you retired and you got a pension, and that pension was like 40 to 60% of what you were making when you were working there full time. We're now in a post-pension era. We're now in the era of what is called the gig economy, where people have a full-time job and they may do Uber, they may do Lyft, they may, do Amazon, or they may have certain other things to supplement their income. So that model worked beautifully then, but it's more counterproductive now. And so as a result, a business owner sees these gigs, quote unquote, potentially as opportunities. And they may say, hey, you know what? Instead of being an Amazon driver, what I'll do is I'll set up a company. I'll bring some people on, whether they're employees or 1099. I'll have them drive for me, do work for me, take care of business for me, and I will pay them a good salary or a good hourly wage or on a good contract. And I'll keep a tiny percentage of what each of them earns. And so what now happens is that business owner has created leverage. Here's the challenge with being a business owner. There's a guy that started a business and he had a great business model, a great idea, but he approached his wife with it and she thought he was crazy. His idea was to buy a company and use this company to serve food. His wife thought it was a crazy idea. He bought the rights to this company and struggled for years. And eventually, it became a very successful, probably one of the largest, most successful franchises on the planet. The gentleman's name is Ray Kroc. And the company that he built was or is McDonald's. And the ironic thing is that his wife divorced him. She moved on. He remarried. And he, of course, has been deceased for quite some time. But his former wife is still alive. And I'm sure every time she drives by a McDonald's, she gets sick to her stomach. But the point I wanted to emphasize is that when you are a business owner, you have to understand that you have a vision that is contrary to popular culture in terms of earning income. Because what we're taught is the E and the S. We're not taught about the business. But that's a part of the baggage that you deal with. It's a part of the adversity you deal with on the front end. Because ultimately the rewards are on the back end. And once your business is successful and you reach a certain point, you may hear things like, hey, you know what? Man, I always knew you were going to do it. Man, I believe in you. I think it was great. And you what you cannot do as an entrepreneur is you can never despise people's responses to your business or their support or lack of support for your business. Because remember, at the end of the day, we're all human, we're all growing, and we can only respond to the programming that we've been given, which is, remember, go to school, get a good education, get your degree, get a good job with benefits, build your career, buy a home, retire and live happily ever after. That is what we've been given as general programming. But understand that if you are choosing to deviate from that, you can. You can strike your own path and be a part of the small percentage, and we'll talk about the numbers in just a minute, of those that go out and start their own business. But understand that the stats I'm about to give you, and this is based on research that we've done within the industry, what we found is that of American households, there are 4 out of 5 families could not pass a basic financial literacy test. And if we peel back and we look at not only basic financial literacy, but if we look at investing, people that have conditioned themselves to pay themselves first before they give anything to any debt or bills that they owe, the people that learn, that are exposed to investing or how to invest, even those that are taught and educated on the principles, only 40% will actually do it. So remember, 40%. But when you look at becoming a business owner or starting a business, that number goes down even more, because statistics tell us that about 25% of people are entrepreneurially minded. You only have to know the numbers. It doesn't speak to anything other than the fact that we're creatures of habit. And so when you understand that, and when you look at business, you have to understand, based on the programming, you have to work your career by day. You build your empire at night. Use your employment to supplement your business, so that once your employment is done, and it will be eventually, trust me, your business will be there to take care of you. That, I believe, is an ideal strategy. Now, of course, as an investor, the investor basically lives on the growth of the assets that they've accumulated. So what that picture looks like is as if a person has $100 million invested. They do not touch that $100 million. They live on the interest that $100 million earns them. So a 10% investment, which we can help clients participate in, or better, once we explain how the numbers work. 10% of $100 million is $10 million. That's more than enough for most people to have a very comfortable lifestyle. But an investor does not work for money. Money works for the investor. The business owner does not work for money. The business owner builds a team, puts in hundreds of thousands of hours per week because he has built a team, and then he receives a small percentage, which is the difference between the expense of salaries and the profit that the company generates. And that comes back to him because he took the risk, he built the company, he or she built the infrastructure and receives the benefits. And so his children and his grandchildren and his great-grandchildren receive income from that business generationally, versus the employee that works for him is working to receive that salary with security and benefits and things of that nature, which are good, but the long-term wealth that is generated goes to the children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren of the employer. And my advice is this: never despise the employer. Never despise the business. Do what the business does. Hope to hear from you through text, messaging, like. Whether you like, comment, text, or subscribe, let me hear from you. God bless.